The first thing you need to do is you need to go to Google Classroom and find these 4 zipped folders. Click on them and download them. So you would just download them like you would any other file. Now they are zipped, so once you save them, what you need to do is you need to go to your downloads folder and it's zipped. So in order to unzip it, just double click on it and it will uncompress it, and then you have all of your options. So do that for every folder you see here, all 4 of them, and then put the folders somewhere safe so you can get to them later. And so then we're going to do the walking man on the beach. So open up After Effects and we're going to start a new composition. So go to Composition New, and you're going to composition name is going to be Man Walking on Beach. We're going to do 1280 by 720. The duration is going to be 7 seconds. And then click OK. And then double click on your projects to go ahead and import the files, or you can go File, Import, File. So I'm going to double click on this and go to wherever your folders are. So I have my 4 folders right here. In the characters folder, you're going to click on Old Man Alternate. It is a Photoshop file, so we do need to import it as a composition. Then click OK. And then Editable Layer Styles, click OK. Drag it down. And then go ahead and double click again. This time go to your extras, and we're going to need the sky. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to hold down Command. Sky, Water, Cloud A, Cloud B, and Hill A. So 5 things. Import as a composition because they are Photoshop files, and then click Open. And then drag them down. The layers, the order of the layers don't really matter, but I am going to go ahead and put them in this order. Cloud A, Cloud B, Old Man Alternate, Water, Hill, Sky. Not that it really matters, but just so that we're all on the same page. And then highlight all of them. So you can either click and hold down Shift and then hit S. This is going to be the scale button, and we're going to scale each one of these. So Cloud A to 30. Actually, okay, so this is why I made the mistake. They were all selected. Deselect off of it and then select back on Cloud A and go 30. Cloud B 50%. Old Man Alternate is going to be 30%. Water is going to be 76. Hill A is going to be 60. And the sky is going to be 150. And then select all of them again. And this time click P. That's going to bring up the position. Deselect. Just click anywhere to deselect the layers. And then select Cloud A. And we need to bring up, we have the x-axis and the y-axis. We actually need to make these a 3D layer. You should have this little square here. If you don't have this square, on the bottom right-hand side, there's different buttons. If you click them, it'll bring it up. So click the little, this makes it 3D. So now when I do position, I have an X, Y, and a Z. So I'm going to open up the position back for each one. And then for Cloud A, I'm going to make it 195, 72, 450. This is just going to place these on my screen. Cloud B is 838, 144, 610. Old Man Alternate, 543, 466, 3. Water, 630, 898, negative 94. Hill A, 618, 534, and 2. And then Sky, 640, 360, 676. So you should have something that looks like this. Now, let me show you what we did. So basically Z, okay, so X and Y, X and Y moves everything left to right. Y moves it up and down. Z moves it front to back. So a better way to look at that is if I go to Active Camera and go to Custom View, and then go to the camera and go Orbit, I can orbit this, and so now you can see where everything is layered. So the z-axis determines how far apart everything is. So if I click my cloud A, you can see my cloud moving front and back. So that's kind of what the z-axis is. We're going to go back to active camera. Okay, now we're going to add our first camera layer. So I'm going to go up to Layer, New. I know you can't really see this, so make sure you're listening. Layer up at the very top, New, Camera. And it should open up this dialog box. Make sure it's one node, and the preset is 35 mm. Everything else can stay the same, and then click OK. We only want the camera to run for about 2.5 seconds, so just grab the end of it until you see that double arrow and drag it in. Okay, I'm actually going to add 2 more cameras. So new camera, same thing, one node 35. It's going to start where the second one ended and go about 5 seconds. Then I'm going to do one more. Same settings, and it's going to start where the second one ends and go to the end. So I have 3 cameras now. So let's start back with this first camera. Click on camera 1 and hit P for position. What we're going to do, actually, I noticed that our sky needs fixed a little bit. So I'm going to click on sky. I'm going to actually increase the size of this a little bit. Perfect. Okay, so camera 1 is going to be a pan. It's going to pan from left to right. Camera 2 is going to go a pan up and down, and then camera 3 is going to be a zoom out. So click P for camera 1 and put your cursor at the very beginning. And what we need to do is we need to take this x-axis and move everything to the right. So if you make the number smaller, the x-axis, it'll move everything this way. And then once you're good, click the stopwatch to create a keyframe. Take that cursor, move it to the very end, not at the very, very end, but like maybe 1 notch in. And then move everything to the left, so make the numbers bigger, and then let go. So you should have a keyframe here and here. So then, once I play it, you notice that everything moves to the left. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to make old man alternate come up. So he's almost like he's walking up the hill. So what you're going to do, and we don't want him coming up like a ghost, like that's a ghost. So we kind of want him to bounce a little bit because, you know, when you walk, your height changes according to your walk. So that's what we're going to do. We're actually going to make a stopwatch. So we're going to make a keyframe at the very beginning. I'm going to move my cursor a little bit. And actually I'm going to start at an even number. So I'm going to start at 460. I'm going to move my cursor a little bit. And then I'm just going to maybe move him 30. So I'm going to go 430. And you see that he's barely up. Now, in order to give him that bouncing look, I'm going to move 1 notch over, and I'm going to just bring it up a little bit. So I'm going to bring him back down. So he goes like, he moves up, let that catch up. He moves up, and then goes back down a little bit. So you kind of see the, so then I'm going to go up a little bit more. So this was at 430, so I'm going to go up a little bit further and do like maybe 400, and then go 1 notch over and do 410. So move them down just a little bit more. Come a little bit over. I had 400, so I'm going to do 370. And then 380 to bring them down just a little bit. Go a little bit more over and do 340. Bring it back up. 350. Bring it back down just a little bit. Keep going. Let me see, my last one was 340, so do like 310, and then up a little bit more, do 320. Okay, and like I'm running out of camera room, but that's okay, we'll fix all that in a second. So I'm just going to keep going until he's completely above the water, or above the hill. So I did 310. So I'm going to do 280, actually, 280. and then 290. 60. 250. Nope, 270. 230. 240. Let's keep going. 200. 210. 170. Oh, he's above it finally. I'm actually gonna, he's almost, I'm gonna make that 165. And then make that 170. Okay, so he's now reached the top of the hill, but we wanted to end at the first of the camera. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna select these. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit and just move them in. Anytime you mess up, you can just do Command Z and it'll undo it. Okay, now I've kind of moved them in too close, so now I gotta come in here. It's like a gambling game. I'm just gonna spread them out just a little bit more. Okay, so then when I play it, if I hit the space bar, you know, he's slowly walking up the hill and it's zooming to the left. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're going to have him walk down the hill. But now we actually need to zoom in on him. So I'm going to open up the position for camera 2 and I'm going to zoom in using my Z axis and then use the X and the Y to center him. So something like that. And then once you get the right amount that you like, hit the stopwatch to create that keyframe. So then it goes from here to here. Go to the end of camera 2, not the very end, but like one notch in. Use the Y axis and zoom down. It's because he's going to be walking down, so the camera needs to go down as he's walking. And then once you're happy, it creates that keyframe. So then our second camera has this. Okay, now you're going to make the man walk down. So what you can do, you can redo these, or I'm actually going to try to just copy and paste. So my second, I'm just going to do this, go Command C, Command V. I'm going to move him down. Now the problem is if you notice that he's going back down behind the mountain. So what we need to do is we need to change the X axis of the old man to bring him forward, or the Z axis. So I'm going to do a 1. Actually, before I do that, if I do that, it's going to make a new one. So make sure you have them selected and then change the Z axis to 1, and that's going to bring him above the mountain. That's the only thing with copying and pasting. If you copy and paste, you're going to have to do that for every single one of them. So I'm going to copy and paste. I think it's going to be easier if I just don't copy and paste, actually. I'm just going to redo this myself. So I'm going to move a little bit further down, and this time I'm just going to go back down. So I'm going to increase my numbers, so 200, 1 for the Z, and then move him back up, so 190. 170, 180, 140. Oops, that went in the opposite direction of what I wanted. Let's see. 170. Actually, I have the same numbers there. 90. I'm going to change that one to, I feel like all of my numbers are the same. 170, 180, 140. I don't know why he's going in that direction. But let's move him down manually. Move him back up a little bit. Move him down. Move him back up. Move him down. Move him back up. Move him down. Move him back up. Just continue the process until his body is halfway in the water. Something like that. So then when you're done, he's walking down. Okay, now for the third camera, I'm going to click on camera 3, open up the position thing. I'm going to open up the position for 2 and 3 because we actually want, if you look, camera 2, camera 3, we have a big change of scenery, but we actually want camera 3 to begin just like camera 2 ended. So this is the end of camera 2. We want camera 3 to begin just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor right in front of camera 3, and I'm going to copy the numbers from camera 2 to camera 3. So for camera 3, I'm going to do 568 because that's what camera 2 is. 568.0, 512, and then a negative 730.3. So then, and then I'm going to hit my stopwatch to create the keyframe. So then when I go from 2 to 3, you notice that my scene doesn't change. Then I'm going to go to the end of camera 3, and I'm going to zoom out using the Z-axis. So then I have one panning across, one close-up going down, and then one zooming out. Okay, now we have a couple things left to do. We need to make our water move. So anytime you have water in the scene, we need to make it move. So I'm going to go to my water and hit the position key. I'm going to click the keyframe to add a keyframe. And just every now and then, I'm just going to come in here and change the x-axis and move it back and forth. We can't see the water here, but we can see it starting about there. So I'm going to put another keyframe and start moving it again. So then when I play it, my water should be moving as well, which it is. Perfect. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is we need to add some lights. So I'm going to go, you add lights just like you would a camera. So I'm going to go to Layer, New, Light. And I'm going to do a spotlight and then click OK. And then expand it to open up the light options. Everything's going to stay the same except for the intensity. I want it to be 78%. You know that it dims it down a little bit. And then where it says cast shadows, choose on. Shadow distance, do 50%. And then shadow diffusion, choose 37 pixels. Okay, you'll notice that even though we put cast shadows on, you don't really see a shadow. And that's because we have to tell After Effects which characters, like which layers we want to actually accept the shadow. So it would be kind of awkward if you have a shadow on your sky or even your clouds. So, but we do want a shadow on the old man. So I'm going to expand the old man alternate layer, expand material options, and then where it says cast shadows, I'm going to choose on. And when you do that, you see that we now have a shadow over there. And then from there, you can actually go back to your light options and kind of mess with some of this stuff, like how dark it is or how diffused it is, like that's just how big it is behind him and things like that. The last one that we need to do is we're going to add in one more camera layer. So layer, new light, or not camera layer, we're going to add a new light layer. This time it's going to be an ambient light. Click OK. Open up the layer, the light options, intensity, change it to 57%. And then for the color, double click on this white and we're going to do more of a tan color. So I'm going to do F7 EBC9, more of it like a tan color. And then I think that looks pretty good. So he has a little spotlight on him and the rest of it's kind of dimmed a little bit. Now the only thing we got to change though is if we play it, you see the shadow coming up. Let me fast forward through this. Basically what happens is when I get to the camera 2, when he's coming down, he has that shadow, but the shadow is going behind the hill. But we want his shadow to fall on the hill. So we actually need to change some of the hill A position. So click on hill A and change and do P for position. Go to the very beginning and add a keyframe. So we basically just need to keep this 2 for all of camera 1. I'm going to expand this so you can kind of see it a little bit better. Okay, so I'm just going to randomly choose some spots and make sure that the 2 stays where it needs to stay. And then right here, where it says, I'm going to add another one, but I'm just going to push it back a little bit. So I'm going to push it back to maybe like 25 or something like that. So then, but you notice that when I do that, now my Z slowly increases. So what I need to do actually is I'm going to come in here and add a couple more keyframes, just adding back that 2 so that it doesn't increase any. So basically the hill is staying the same until I get to this point. And then as he comes down, you'll notice that the shadow is, it's not a whole lot, so I might come back here. I might push that hill back even more. So see, now you can see his shadow on the hill versus behind the hill. Perfect. So then if I play it, let me let it load. Once it renders, this is what it should look like. Okay. Go go ahead and save it. But we also, so that you can turn it in, go to composition, add to render queue. Choose where you want it to be saved to, so click on the output. I'm going to save mine to my desktop. And then click render. Once it gets to the very end, you'll hear a ding. Okay, and then look on your desktop or wherever you saved it to, and you should have a movie file that looks similar to this. Turn this into Google Classroom.